Hello, everybody. I'm Toby Shifsky, and you have come to another episode of Real Expert. Today's topic is outside the box land development. We're going to go for 30 minutes, and it's going to be fast and furious. And our experts today are Jim Boo and Don Skelly. Their information is available here on this welcome screen. Please take a moment, write down their information. If you have any interest in land development, you are probably going to want to talk to these guys afterwards. They are experts. They've been in the business, and I'm going to go ahead and give them a full introduction. I will put the screen up again at the end. And once again, we're going to go for about 30 minutes. It's going to be fast and furious. And let's go ahead. I'm going to bring in Don and Jim to the Real Expert presentation today. Welcome, Don Skelly and Jim Boo. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you, Tob.
All right. So let me give a little introduction so everybody knows who the experts are here. So Don Skelly is a partner of High Point Land, LLC. Is an expert knowledge in land entitlement development. He's and in builder management and lot sales. In fact, what you're going to find is Don's been around land development and new construction for decades. Before moving into land development, his 20 plus years as a partner and executive vice president of a large home builder includes sales, design, and kind of a specialty, a mentor of millennials, establishing a foundation for a successful launch into land development. So Don works with people who are thinking about getting into land development, and we're glad to have you here, Don.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And Jim Boo. Jim is the founding partner of High Point Land LLC. As a seasoned licensed real estate professional, he brings 3 decades of experience. And I've been around for a lot of that. Full disclosure, Jim is my brother-in-law, believe it or not. And I've actually done land development with Jim before. It's almost 20 years ago, Jim, just FYI. Land development, team building, and finding ways to succeed are Jim's passions, right? And it's not just succeeding, it's where others cannot. One of Jim's uncanny abilities is to get stuff done when everything else seems impossible. So Jim is also a Kaplan instructor. Some of you may have had Jim. He's done a land development, how to develop land class at Kaplan for years now. And in fact, the angle of his class isn't, here's what you need to do. I think it's a very refreshing perspective and says, I've done so many of these, here's what not to do. And so it's a fun class, and students love it because he gets to tell some real horror stories and nightmares. But he's bringing that knowledge today because I think today we are. By the way, Jim, welcome. Thank you for being here, Jim.
No, thanks, Tob. And I think it all probably the foundation started in how do I get your sister to say yes to marrying me? Yeah. I mean, and the work again.
Well, you definitely have some power of persuasion, that's for sure. So today we're going to cover land description. What's new in land development, right? What creates potential opportunities? I think it's no secret. Real estate, listings are at a shortage, and some would say housing's at a shortage. We're going to ask some questions of our participants here, real quickly, kind of not only to kind of gauge what their interest or even experiences in land development. So all you participants, you're going to get a polling question in just a couple seconds, but we want to understand, what are the opportunities in land development today? Some people say we're in a housing crisis, but not a real estate crisis. And so there are millennials moving out of their parents' basements, right? And they've been there, they're living for years and years and years. And finally COVID put them over the top because they were locked in with mom and dad. And so now they're moving out. The pig is coming through the python, and there aren't enough units. There aren't enough homes. There aren't enough places for everybody. And we're watching the pricing go up. We're watching the skyrocketing costs of residential for resale. And we're seeing some real shortage of new construction. And at the basis of almost all new construction is land development. It doesn't happen if the land isn't there. And so, what we're going to talk about today is what's happening in land development and how is it changing? How to identify the opportunities? Who are the players in today's land development? And we're going to understand some new models that Jim and Don are employing successfully in land development today. So that, and here's the thing, everybody, this is a big topic. This clearly could be at least a half-day class, if not, weeks of training. we're going to get some real hard-hitting, fast-moving information today. And I'm going to keep Don and Jim moving ahead on a kind of an agenda to get us kind of to the end, so that when we leave here today, all of you are going to get a couple golden nuggets on, what is a land opportunity? What are the ways that can be developed today? How do I make money in land development today? Because what we're going to find out, there are numerous ways for an agent to make money in land development. In fact, I think we counted off 6. We talked a little bit earlier, 6 different ways for an agent to make money in land development today. And we're going to give those all to you. And we're going to wrap up within 30 minutes. So without further ado, I want to do this. Jim and Don, I'm going to ask our participants, which we're at 148 participants right now. I'm going to ask them a question. And participants, this is your time to participate. This is your time to jump in. I'm going to do a polling question, and I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever developed land before? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this polling question up. And I want you guys to take your best shot at answering this, because we want to gauge who's in our audience right now. I see people from all over the country. We got people from Louisville. We got people from Grand Junction. We got people from Rio. We got people from Albuquerque. We got people from all over. Go ahead and take your best shot at it. Right? Have you ever developed land before? Not yet. I've done a tear down, right? That's your simple tear down. Like, that home needs to go, and we're going to put up a McMansion, or we're just going to put up a new property, right? I've done a simple subdivision of land. That's where you got a nice little bit of acreage, and you peel off one lot and do a simple subdivision, put one home on it. I've developed residential community. I've actually done a subdivision plot, land design, gone through the city, right? Or, hey, man, I've done, land development for commercial applications. You're probably a little more seasoned, a little salty. We're going to get a couple little nuggets for you, too, those guys who are maybe a little more experienced. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this poll. It looks like we have 60, 100 people have participated. Let's go. We got 150 people in here. Let's keep going. Everybody, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm ending it. And I'm going to share the results. How about this? You guys all see this, sharing the results? We got 73% of the people in here. So 3/4 of us have not done a development yet. Perfect. You're in a great spot. You're in a really good spot. So, look at this, 5%. 5 people have done a tear down. Awesome. Maybe you're thinking of more, right? You see that little bit of a pile of money you can make on a tear down. What if it was on a grander scale? And we're going to talk about this. There are opportunities in small towns today that there weren't just 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And what does that mean to redevelop within some of these towns, or even within communities? What does that look like to pile a couple of those, tear downs together and actually do a significant development? Residential communities, we got 11 people, 11%, and then commercial, we got 4 people there. You could probably help the dialogue here. I hope you enjoy it today. We're going to go ahead and move ahead quickly. All right, so I'm going to finish this and close the poll and bring back our guests. All right, so you guys see that? We got 3/4 of the people have never done one yet, right? We got, and then we got a couple of variations of people throughout. So we'll gear the conversation accordingly, and let's jump in. Are you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
We're ready.
All right. So here's the question. Don, I'm going to start with you. What's happening in land development across the country today? What are you seeing? What's going on in land development? Real quick.
Yeah, so we're here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, which probably is a pretty typical medium-sized market. What we're seeing here, probably more than anything, is the publics are taking a larger percentage of the market every year, and they, of course, typically buy larger parcels.
So when you say publics, you mean like
mediums.
When you say publics, Don, you mean like big players like Lennar Homes and
Lennar and Pulte and all the names we'd all recognize. They're growing their presence in the market, and they're doing it generally at the expense of the medium-sized local builders. The small local builders are small, and they're happy to be small. So the kind of the bad news, if you want to say it, for the smalls, because we're mostly smalls here, is they're taking larger percentages of the market. The good news is, though, they're kind of ignoring the smaller parcels. And so I'm assuming most of the people we're probably interacting with here today are smalls. And so there's probably more opportunity now than there's been in quite a while.
And when you say large parcels and small parcels, can you give me like a size? Like, what are you thinking? Like there's 100 acres.
Large is probably, large is probably, 80 and up, and small is probably, 40 and down.
Okay. So 40 acres, still pretty significant for a lot of people, but 40 and down.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
And Jim, what are you seeing? What's happening in land development, from your perspective across the country today?
Well, I think what we are certainly feeling are the demographics following COVID. People now, maybe moving to a more rural setting and location, working from home. What does that look like? Multi-generational families combined. We're also seeing a fair amount of transitional zoning within the cities. What used to be, as the big boxes came and life changed, everybody's now going to Costco and Walmart and everything. What does that corner store look like to a city? And so we're seeing transitional uses within the city that we try to understand, what is their need? It's usually a housing need. Developing is creating inventory for us in jobs and resources and homes. So it's vibrant, but the product type has changed, and Don could speak to that a little bit. What was probably the norm several years, 10 years ago, let's call it, of a 2-story or a split entry is now what is one level looking like, and what is our aging population? Where do they go, and how do they stay into the community, and how do they connect to the community? And then parks and trails we're much more aware of connectivity as a land developing world that cities like to hear.
Got it. So let me give it back to you, because I heard something very interesting in there. And it was that cities are listening to land developers. They're listening to their public. And cities are becoming, would you say, more active participants in land development, more willing participants? Like when it comes to densities or zoning, like you said, you talked about the corner store. What happens to that corner store today? Does it move out? Does it go away? A lot of them are sitting empty. And so is that what you're saying about cities and towns?
Yes, correct. And so what I'm saying is, so we're in 3 cities in Western Wisconsin, which is right next to Minnesota. We're based in the East Metro in the Twin Cities, and 3 Western Wisconsin cities are currently looking, and they're willing to participate with the land. They're willing to participate in a reduction of fees, and they're willing to listen, where in times past there wasn't that. We were the ones pursuing people to get a meeting to, how could we come and develop? And now we are actually being courted by cities. And in some cases, they'll even participate by providing the dirt if the plan meets a desired need that they have for housing, like workforce housing. That's a classic example that cities need workforce housing. What is workforce housing? Well, where does a family go that needs to, affordability, not subsidy, affordability, good, safe, clean housing, within the community. And it's a spot that's a current hot topic, along with one level living. Waiters are, after the kids are gone, and you're in the 2-story home and you'd like to stay in the neighborhood and community, you're transitioning towards selling the 2-story house and moving to something on one level. That's a little more efficient, a little easier, maybe a little smaller, but you don't want to leave your community. So they're directions that cities are going that we haven't seen. Well, it's really picked up in the last 5 to 10 years. Those thoughts.
I think I can add on to what Jim said too there, where cities are oftentimes rewriting their zoning codes. And so, rather than being stuck in a paradigm of maybe something that was written a generation ago, they're recognizing that as their buildable and developable land disappears and shrinks, they probably need to rewrite some of their codes so they don't have to, fight with their residents about allowing maybe a more dense or a different size or shape of housing, or maybe a different place where it now goes. And that's a step forward, as city councils turn over and city administrators and planners turn over. You're getting a next generation, and they see the need that's there, and they love their town, and they want to make it receptive to maybe what it wasn't receptive to just a decade ago. So that's a big positive step.
So let me give that back, because I'm looking through the participant list. I see people from all over the country, and I see them from small towns. I see them from some big cities too. But big cities was the move, right? For the last decade, it was urban infill. It was moving to the urban centers, and it was condos, townhomes, apartments. A lot of people moving in, and COVID did start a shift. I mean, it started to shift, right? With remote working, with people kind of revisiting their life and where they're at. And but for a decade up to that point, there was a lot of smaller, what we might call outer ring cities or towns or communities that were losing people, right? I mean, they were in fact, if you go ahead.
That was, there was a couple of factors there. And of course, COVID didn't cause it, but it accelerated a trend already underway. We all know that, Amazon changed our world. I don't know that we knew it did, but it did. And of course, COVID accelerated those things, and the kinds of communities that are kind of, third ring suburbs or bedroom communities, they lost a little appeal, at $5 gallon gas, 12 years ago, and the requirement to be at your desk every day. And in the last 5 or 7 years, the requirement to be at your desk has relaxed quite a bit. And of course, COVID, boom, went from maybe 2 days of remote commute to, okay, now it's 5 days, Right. And so all of a sudden, I think there's some people that say, I kind of liked it out there on my acre and a half. That was kind of neat. And I don't have to be at the office anymore. Wow. Where do we want to live, honey?
Right. So, and I think what you've talked about is, I think we're seeing these communities, these cities, are actually responding to this push, this need, understanding, like you talked about, I think, Don, which was we can either go into every single land development and have a battle with neighbors and people in the city who don't want change, or we can get ahead of it and change our ordinances to accommodate, like Jim said, workforce, work for or higher density, so that you can get more people in a smaller area. I mean, I know that there's communities and cities all around the country that are raising their density limits because of affordability. I mean, it's no secret that new construction pricing has gone up significantly in the last year and a half. I probably started 3 years ago. And Don, we talked a little bit earlier, but it was very interesting because I had forgot about this. Because everybody looks at new construction as a very expensive option, and land as a part of that. But and the fact that new construction costs more than a residential, same square footage property. And maybe give us a little perspective on where we're at now for cost for new construction versus historically maybe where we're at in comparison to existing residential.
Generally, over a broad range of time, new construction might range 20, 15, 25, so let's just say 20% in a band with existing real estate.
Cost for many years more than existing, right?
20% more, sure.
Yeah.
For many years, the only differential was if I want to live near the city core, I buy existing. If I'm willing to live farther out, I can get more home for similar money. In a new construction, land hasn't appreciated, super dramatically. That input isn't hurting things. New construction went up quite a bit in 2020. Dearth of supply was part of it. Part of it was, material and labor, but it really just caught up to kind of that traditional 15 or 20% premium that's usually present. It was kind of lagging behind, I think, for a while, but it's kind of caught back up. And over time, that shrinks and grows, but it's about 20% generally.
So we should, in a typical market that you've seen over decades of doing this, is about 20% premium for new construction. right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
essentially
And if you think about it, if you build a new house and you move in and your cat pees in the carpet and you missed a toenail clipping and it's in the carpet, why would somebody pay you more for that? If it holds value, it did well. And
Yeah,
so
right.
we always tell people, if you build a new home and you take care of it and you get your money back in a decade or two, great, that was a home run.
I'm going to have to remember that example that you gave.
It's real world. I got a cat, so
it's the real world. All right, so here's what we're seeing. What's happening in land development. We're seeing a lot of push into those outer rings that maybe didn't have the kind of push and drive for land development. There was a lot of urban centralization, and now we're seeing kind of that push back out. We're seeing cities redoing ordinances in order to accommodate maybe some higher densities, some smaller sizes, smaller footprints, so that the pricing can stay affordable for people. And but if I'm a land developer, right, and I got a lot of people on here who, the 75% of the people on here want to be a land developer, what should they be looking for as opportunities? In fact, if I was to say, how is land development done today? Maybe you could fill us in, because there's a historical model of land development where I'm a developer, I'm going to come in and I'm going to beat the landowner up, or I'm going to, offer up I'd say beat up, but not really beat up, but, I go in and I'm going to give you a price. And if you're a farmer or you're a landowner or whoever you are, I'm going to give you a price, and then I'm going to take that land and I'm going to develop and I'm going to make a pile of money. And it was always a bit of a confrontational bit where the landowner never thought they got paid the right amount, right? They always thought you were going to make all the money. And so tell us, what makes today's land development different than in the past? What's the traditional model? And then give us kind of the new model that you guys are employing really to a high level of success. Because I think people will be interested to know, because then, and this last little piece, then I'll let you guys go, is because what we find, I think, is that along every step of the way that you might describe here is a place for a real estate professional to make money. And I'd love to be able to tie that in as we go through this. So go ahead. What traditional model, and then how are you finding success today?
Well, I think we should let Don do that in under 2 minutes.
All right, Don, why don't you give us a
Okay. 2 minutes. Oh, that's a big chat. Okay. So what we have formulated is this. We, when we meet with a land seller, we put in front of them the entire process from raw land to selling real estate units out the back door. And that's obviously a multi-step process. But in doing that, we show them along the way what each step of the process costs to do and what the risks are as those costs, are input. And then what's the profit? How much money, how much added value can be brought to bear on that land, and it can be brought to bear in several steps. And in doing that and fully disclosing that, we take the additional step of inviting them to partner with us for one of those steps or three of those steps or all five of those steps. And when you do that, you just change the meeting from sitting across the table from someone to moving your chair around to sitting on the same side of the table with them. We now have aligned interests, and we're not trying to get the price of the land down, or we're not trying to do anything other than figure out what's the best way to do this for what their personal goals and situation is. And it works really well. And Jim can talk about, how many take us up on partnering, how many don't, how many partly do. Jim, maybe you can jump in on that.
And I want to get that next, but let me just kind of summarize or paraphrase what you said to make sure everybody's clear. So back in the old days, right, you would just walk in and say, "Hey, I'll pay you $400,000 for your land. I got it from here. I'm going to take it and develop it, and I'm going to sell it to I'm going to go through the city, and I'm going to get everything done and everything approved, and I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to make my money, and you go your way." Now what you're saying is no. What we're finding is there are some real advantages to maybe having the landowner participate as a part of the development process, and maybe they don't want to, and that's fine. But we're going to go in and we're going to be the expert. We're going we're going to have full transparency. We're just going to disclose everything. Hey, here's your land. Here's what we think it could be done with it. Here's what the costs of improving that land are going to take. Here are the risks involved. Here's how much money could be made at the end. And then you, landowner, you can decide. Do you want to just sell to us? I mean, here's all the numbers. Here's what the, unimproved. Here's what it's worth. Land. Here's what it's worth if the implements are all done, and we got the thing approved through the city. And then here's what it's worth if we're selling it to actual contractors or construction companies or individual users, and they can participate at any level. They can sell it. You can help them develop it, right? Like actually collect a fee and be a partner and split some of the proceeds, or they can be a full end partner and you can form an actual company, right? Like an LLC and develop the whole thing with them, where they bring the land, you bring the money for the improvements and your expertise, and then you split the proceeds at the end. You're really doing the full Monty. You're giving them the full disclosure, and they can pick. Is that right?
And generally, at least half of them, once they see the amount of profit and the risk and the time it takes to get it, say, "Is that all you make? We'll just sell it." But now they feel good about their decision to sell it at the price slightly before they felt really like they were being taken. But once you show them everything, the price didn't change, but their understanding of what the price is changed, and they become very happy, willing sellers for the same price, frankly.
Jim, what do you think the percentage? I mean, I know Don said like 50. What do you think the percentage of people who want to sell, or the people who want you to hire you? Because I think that's what your land development company does, is people can hire you to develop the land, right? And so they'll basically hire you and pay you a fee to develop it. And what percentage of them actually want to go in with you to develop the land, like form an LLC, and they bring the land, you bring the money and the expertise? And what percentages? Where are you at on that?
Okay, I'm going to take a stab at it quickly, Toby. So I think the transparency component that Don spoke of is a critical foundational block for us. Cards are face up, and then once they are face up, then the decision points become clearer. To your question, let's say 60% of the people don't want anything to do with anything other than getting a check, but their understanding of the work involved in getting to that check makes a decision. It makes a decision a better process decision. They're not functioning in a dark room. And then I would say 20% of the people would like us to do the word, entitlements is a fancy word for bringing undeveloped to developed through the city. The platting, the process, the lot size, the wetlands, all of the things associated with getting to a finished lot. And then so it's 60% just probably off the top of my head would like to just have a straight purchase.
Yep.
20% would like us to engage with us for professional services, to work with the city, the neighborhood, the product type, to then get a better return for that. And then an additional 20% might take a joint venture route where they'll participate with their land and our resources to get a little bit better return. And then, before we run out of time, I think you touched on the 6 different points of revenue that we have here in land developing.
Everybody's waiting. We might go. I'm just going to let everybody know we might go a little bit long here, but I want Jim and Don to cover this. Is how do you make money? Obviously as a land developer or as an agent, every step along the way. Go ahead, Jim. Give it to us, will you?
Sure. So one of the models, we came out of the back end of the business. I went into the land development business strictly to create an opportunity to have a real estate transaction. And it evolved into doing and understanding the land development business to create that transaction at the end. And then along the way, what you find is we understand that. So it's a model that grew into a full service model. The value point for us that's different than others is we are actually real estate brokers. There's a backup house. There's a client that wants to build a house. There's a lot that has to be sold. There's a parcel of real estate that has to be purchased by somebody. There's an assignment, and I know we have real estate professionals. There's an assignment opportunity if somebody were to get a parcel under contract and then assign it to somebody like us or a builder. The work within the city, which we call entitlement work, we can just outsource and do that model, do that work for an individual seller if they'd like to get the greatest return. Along with that, what makes that work have a enhanced value is that our bringing the product, and Don is as good as anybody I know in the Twin Cities at what is the current product type that should be on that site, like main level, smaller footprint. But our opportunity to bring the builders that are looking for finished lots, most builders don't want to be land developers, but are bringing the builders to the finished lots and then representing them at least through a parade model stage gives us an additional opportunity for revenue, along with the backup house. So that working together with the construction of their new house is a profit center. So we just
Toby, can I answer a couple of questions that have been chatted in?
Yeah. Sure. Jim, thanks for that. Go ahead, Don. Go ahead.
I've been watching a few questions rolling through, and people are asking, is there a percentage of development profit that's typical? Is there a percentage of land input that's typical? So the short answer is sort of. Each parcel is unique, but as a developer, generally, if the project can't yield a 25% of the finished lot sales as profit, it's probably a little too risky to be involved in. And what we do is we start from the last day, i.e. when we sell the lots to the last user, the builder or the buyers, what's that total revenue? And then we take out all the inputs that go into it, the park dedication fees and the water and the sewer and all the things. And then we plan for 25% profit. And the last number at the bottom is what's the land worth. If it's just, raw land bought with a paycheck, done, goodbye. So that's how we arrive at the land cost. So the land cost isn't the fixed cost. It's actually the last variable because most of the rest of those are fixed.
Awesome. All right. So I'm just going to give it back quick. I know we're going a couple minutes over, but I think this is important. So for agents, in order to make money in land development, you could be as simple as you identify the piece of property and the opportunity. You could tie up that piece of property on an option or an agreement, know what you're doing, and or even just talk a seller into listing to sell and find a land developer and make a commission, or you could actually buy the land or get an option on the land and find somebody else to develop the land. You could do that, right? I mean, that's one thing. The next part is you could, and in your model is you can not only work with the farmer and help and have them hire you to develop the land. That's another way that you can make money. But you could actually enter into a partnership with that landowner and split the proceeds at the very end. And a lot of advantages to having somebody who owns a land be your partner, because you don't have to go to the bank most of the time to finance the purchase of the land, and then interest starts ticking. You get a willing partner, right? And then once it's developed, you can then turn around and sell the individual lots to contractors for building homes or to individuals who are going to be the end user. You can make a commission on that. And then Jim, you kind of tacked on some stuff. It's like, and then when those people buying the lots got to sell homes. So there's like 5 or 6 different places in a land development, which I think you guys have really done a great job with. Is, and then Jim said it, you started at the end. You started being that person that was, selling the lots to the contractors or to the homeowner. And then you started to work your way back all the way into the land development and all those steps in between. So huge amounts of money sometimes and opportunity with all of these land developments. Did I miss anything there? Do you think I got it? Think we got it?
No, nice job.
And then so here's the last thing I'm going to leave you with. We're going to be wrapped up in 1 minute, everybody. Because like I said, this could be like an all day thing. And I see some more questions are rolling in. Once again, you guys, I'm going to put Don and Jim's contact information up at the end. Feel free to email them. They're available for you for your questions or their expertise at the end. But I'm going to ask one question. If there was a quick hitter, like, an opportunity that is existing in communities today that people are living right next to, or they've been driving by, that you're seeing that are starting to happen as a land development opportunity in these communities? I'm going to start with Don. Don, what do you see as one of those opportunities?
One that we're actually actively pursuing, and it's kind of maybe it's a sad story for some people, but it's churches. And churches obviously had a rough year last year. Many of them here in the Twin Cities they're just closing. And that again, did COVID cause it, or were they already on their way out? We don't know. And so a lot of those churches are sitting on nice little corners of every suburb you can think of. And there's been a city that was happy to have them there, but received zero tax revenue for 50 or 100 years. And now, come in and propose a development of whatever sort. The city's pretty anxious to put that parcel to work for their, tax revenue in their city and county. So that's one of our rising stars this year, we think. Wow.
So the kind of the slow demise of some churches is actually a huge. These churches are all over communities there, and they, like you said, they usually have a really nice piece of land. Sorry for them, understand it, but cities are generally willing participants, is what you're saying, because all of a sudden they create a tax base for a property that.
And more often than not, the building is not super repurposable.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's on a site big enough that it can just be removed.
Yeah.
And the site can be repurposed. We're not talking about historical churches in urban areas. We're talking about suburban, small sites.
Right on. Excellent. Jim, what do you think is an opportunity people should be? It could be driving by or living by or seeing all the time, and not really know that there's an opportunity there. Maybe there's somebody hurting or some need. What do you see?
Well, every city has a comprehensive plan, and every city has a need that's continually changing. And one way to get from zero to something is to meet with a city administrator in a community that you're familiar with. So it's a familiar voice, and simply ask them, what would they like to see and where would they like to see it? And then from those two positions, you can understand where the developing is, because there's a comprehensive plan that'll show you, what's residential, what's multifamily, commercial. You can see usually most of us, who owns it, and then you have an understanding what the city would like to see there. We need more affordable housing. We need main level housing. We need, whatever they might need. We need denser housing.
So start with the ultimate gatekeeper, essentially, is what you're saying.
Correct. Because they're going to
solve a need.
They're going to tell you where and what.
Perfect. You guys have been awesome. Jim Boo, Don Skelly. I tell you what, I can't thank you enough. I know we went a little bit long, everybody, but I wanted to make sure people understood how they can make money and kind of those two low-hanging fruit opportunities for everybody. Thank you again, guys. I'm going to go ahead and put the closing screen up. Grab these guys' information. Send them emails, get in contact with them. They are absolute pros at what they do. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.